We done good.
We did the interview.
We did the interview. Holy crap.
That was a long interview.
That was a long interview. Is that one of the longest you've had?
Hi friends. I've recently been working on some videos that are more complex than the ones I've made so far. These are videos that involve multiple days of shooting, multiple interviews, and a long time spent editing. And as I work on those videos, I've missed waking up, picking up the camera, and taking all of you with me throughout a day. So that's what's happening. I'm headed into work, and then I'll meet up with you after. I'm on my way to interview the student conductor of the WPI Men's Glee Club, and we actually found each other on the way.
I'm Edward Andrews. A lot of people call me Edge. I'm the student director for the Men's Glee Club this year. By the end, when both parties are pretty comfortable with what's going to happen, it's a very powerful feeling. You know, you've got this, spread of up to 100 singers in front of you, and you're the one who gets to experience what they're singing first. The sound hits you first. So being sort of at the center of that, everyone's looking at you.
Just finished the interview with Edge. With each interview I do, I notice that I'm learning more and more. Unlike the other interviews that I've done for Underleveled so far, this one was interesting because it wasn't meant to be recorded as a back and forth conversation. I meant to record clips of the subject and then put them over content I already have. Edge, I really appreciate you taking the time today.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
I'm back home clearing a card and charging batteries because I have another interview tonight. But before that interview, I'd like to tell all of you that this is the end of the second week of B term, the end of the second week of WPI's second quarter in the academic year. It moves fast, so you have to carve out moments to take a breath along the way. In our last Glee Club rehearsal, we assigned bigs and littles. Throughout the year, we have many big little events for the members of club. Tonight is the first one, and I'm going there to meet up with my next interviewee. It's a Smash Brothers tournament.
That's really funny though. We just got so into that.
All set?
Yeah.
Today on Underleveled, I'm really happy to have somebody on the show that I wanted to have on the show for a long time. I think that when somebody is trying to achieve their goals and achieve what they want to achieve and get after the things that they're after, it's very important to surround oneself with people who are doing the same, with people that are working hard and people that are very genuine and that people that care about those around them. And so I'm very happy to be able to sit down with somebody who is very highly productive and a very high output person, and someone I consider a great friend. And so I'm happy to introduce Alex Markoski on Underleveled. So Alex, thank you for being here.
Anytime, right back at you after all of that.
I appreciate you being on the show.
No problem.
It's been a long time coming, and I'm glad that we can sit down for a little while. Let's start out by talking about the different things you're involved in on campus, just so everybody understands where you're coming from.
Yeah. So to start off, I'm a double major in biomedical engineering and mechanical engineering. I am on 4 exec boards right now, which is still really funny to say out loud. I'm currently the acting president of Recording Club. I am the vice president of AEMB, which is the Biomedical Engineering Honor Society. I am one of the membership chairs for SOCOM, the social committee, and I am one of the founding team members of the organization called WPI's Launchpad. Aside from those executive positions, I've had the chance to work in a couple of other groups, whether it be the Student Rock Association from time to time, same with L&L. I just like to expand the network, meet as many people as I can, and I started off freshman year by kind of looking at all these organizations, narrowing down to what I really wanted to spend time on, and kind of went from there. And one of those, for example, has been the chorus, Glee Club Festival, VPL back in the day. All of those have been very, very rewarding, and I'm still continuing with that throughout my senior year. And then also I'm a proud brother of Phi Kappa Theta fraternity.
All of that is on top of the coursework.
Yep.
And the coursework seems to be the foundation under everything else. And even that is an incredible amount of time investment each week.
Yeah, there's a lot of scheduling stuff that I've had to do personally to get this double major to kind of really come to life. I'm still in this kind of limbo-esque stage where I'm determining what I really see myself doing in that next step. I've looked at grad schools, I've looked at applying here. That's something that I'm definitely planning on doing to see if I can do the 5-year program. Right now I'm swaying towards mechanical engineering masters, but I could be swayed towards biomedical as well.
You're now a senior,
Yep.
and having come into WPI and grown through these years and experienced so much of what it means to be a WPI student, what are some recommendations that you have for navigating that path?
Yeah.
And also how to manage being split between so many things?
I recommend just going out there and being, very, very enthusiastic. People love to see enthusiasm. People love to see that you have an interest in something. Even though that this might be something temporary, you're still figuring things out. So my freshman year, what I did is I got involved in quite a few organizations. I went and tried to see what was out there. And this was, of course, after validating to myself that I was able to handle the course load that I was under at that point.
Which is an important step.
So as you
in
mentioned,
freshman year.
it's the foundation that, you got that foundation of coursework that's going on the whole time you're here. And then you can only really build off of that if you're stable in that sense. Or at least that's how I prioritize things here. There's something that I've done personally throughout this whole process, which is from my freshman year, each year has been an incremental increase in difficulty. That comes with coursework, of course.
Right.
But it also has been facilitated by myself. I've added on as I've gone on. And
So
that's
conscious changes.
conscious changes, yes. And it's something that I personally love. I love a challenge. And that kind of really kicked in when I became a sophomore year. I developed a very strong internal drive. Based off of the environment I was in, I felt like I needed to be driving myself. And that's kind of what happened. And I learned to just add little bits, as I went on to make sure that I could handle it as I go on, because you see a lot of people here just take on, do the freshman approach I just described and just keep with it all. And that breaks some people and it hurts. And I've probably been there or close a couple times, and you just have to monitor your internal, your mental health, your physical health. You need to know where your limits lie. And then if you choose to, you can keep inching and see if you can push that a little further. And that's something that I love to do.
It's so interesting to talk about those limits because college is an incredible time to explore a lot of limits where people have a lot of newfound freedoms, and a lot of the value of a college degree is not simply learning the coursework, taking the classes, getting the piece of paper at the end, and allowing you to work in that field. It should be an exploration of oneself and the world.
Definitely.
And to be able to add more and more and more in a controlled way is only possible when somebody is doing that self-reflection.
Yes.
And when they know themselves. And so it's important to know that while you're trying to go hard and get after what you're after, to also take that time, for yourself. And I think that advice comes very frequently from a lot of different sources.
Yeah.
But it's not always phrased in that way. For some people, it's not necessarily, sitting on a beach You know, for some people that's not relaxing. For some people it's evaluation of what you're actually doing and are you actually enjoying it.
If you will, put some safety factors to some of this and say that, I know this is a group work project based class, I'm going to prepare in case I'm not in the ideal situation there. So it had been like baseline scheduling for me, and that just came from talking to a lot of people, upperclassmen, seeing what worked in their schedules, what they've heard about the courses, if they've had the courses, how'd they like it. It's really just about getting a gauge of what's going on from people who have experienced it. And something that you touched on earlier, surrounding yourself with people who are also pushing their limits. I love surrounding myself with people who are at the next step or further from me.
Right.
Because that helps drive me. That's been one of the motivating factors before I got to college. Like my junior year of high school, I started realizing that being in that kind of crowd makes me want to be even more like that. And I liked it. I know it's not for everyone, but that's something that I personally really enjoyed. And then the self kind of drive kicked in, I think, sophomore year for me. And now I run off of a mixture of both, but it's all come with a lot of hard work. I personally can't say things come easy to me. I do spend quite a bit of time on work and working for what I have achieved now. You find the people who are taking on a lot of work from just having a large network. Aside from that, you can also narrow some of that down by looking at organizations on campus that are specifically focused on developing individuals. So that's a very general category, but think of it as almost academic-based organizations that have like a structure, they're working hard, they have a purpose, they're well orchestrated. Others just come out of the blue, and that's, for example, that was Test Kitchen for me. I was just talking to people, I showed my interest, I met with some upperclassmen at some point, and when this organization was formed by a couple of seniors in Dean Art Heinricher, one of the seniors who knew me and knew that I was trying to be an active individual said, hey, we're looking for a freshman who's, could give us some insight to this concept. And I kind of got roped into this organization that was looking to help students on WPI's campus take a project and make that project into something more real, something more tangible, a business, a company, a startup, or just at the basic level, help them get to wherever they're going. Because there's plenty of resources at WPI, but not everyone knows where all of them are, or even know if they exist. It's now WPI's Launchpad, as I mentioned earlier, and we've altered the goals a little bit, but the same principle still applies. It's just more on the focus of giving students and individuals on campus the resources to start working on that process on their own.
The Launchpad organization tries to promote an entrepreneurial mindset in the students on our campus, and that does tend to be more of an academic buzzword, but does have very important, it does create tangible differences in what a graduate has to make them ready for the real world. So could you talk about that mindset and a little bit more about the mission of that organization?
So I think first off, WPI does a very good job at teaching you how to learn. I think WPI students, at least I feel, are fairly versatile once they're put into the field. If you're really going for the whole WPI experience, I think you're going to walk out of here with something along the lines of being highly adaptable. What we're looking to do is add to that kind of that package deal already, with walking out of here with the ability to ideate, to be able to work with teams to develop products, to develop concepts that you can take and progress in an organization, for example. So it could be anything from as simple as brainstorming a cool project for just like your dorm room friends, to taking a simple idea that you created in a class and making that into something more of a startup or a business. We really believe that if you provide these instruments and tools and these concepts at the early stages and throughout the experience here at WPI, you're going to be able to walk out of here, if you've been participating in them, of course, with a better understanding of that means of ideation, that means of developing, that means of producing, that means of, you know, taking things to the next step and understanding the process along the way.
Right. All of the organizations with which you are involved are to help other people in some way, whether it's SOCCOM putting on an event,
Yeah.
or a musical group
Mhm.
that is giving a performance for people to enjoy.
Yeah.
So for something like Launchpad,
Yeah.
we were talking about mindset, but go a little further into how the organization of Launchpad can help students become better.
It's a hard thing because there's no formula for this. There's no right way to do it. Like there's no right way to write a song or right way to, you know, formula to follow to create a successful startup. We're just breaking it down to a foundation, effectively. And whether you're looking to even work on a project or not, some of these things can be applied in multiple situations. Just as I'm part of bands, I've done a lot of music, you know, solo and with groups, and those experiences I've been able to translate to work I've done in class in situations, whether it's team dynamics or an actual problem.
Right.
And in the same way, you could look at this foundation that we're trying to provide as being a means for building a ideology of sorts. You can add that to your personal beliefs and apply it in different ways. So on the very basic form, we're providing a new form of ideas that can be acquired by, you know, students that are developing as freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors. We're all going through this process still. But at any given point, you can get some of these skills, you can get some of these new ideas, and just having those extra tools in your tool belt, I'll say it that way, you have more things you can pull to different situations. I personally love being in an organization like that. I seek to help as many people as I can. And this is just another means, especially with the onset of the new building, Forzy.
Right.
And that should be a hub for this mindset to just thrive.
Right.
And we want to make sure that when I'm gone, you know, which is going to be probably pretty soon.
Yeah, me too.
It's you know, having that community left over that knows how to use that space, make that mindset something more of a normal thing. You know, you walk into WPI and you see people around you doing that, and you're like, oh, that seems pretty cool.
That's a lot of work to change mindset, but to grow students that want to be more driven, that want to do more and be more and become more. And sometimes that's a difficult sell because the answer, because the most basic answer to that is putting in more work, putting in more time, putting in more energy. But
in some cases, it's working smarter.
As we were talking about earlier, doing that in a healthy way. Right.
It's, I don't know if I mentioned this, but there's a balance to all of this.
Right.
And that kind of ties in with the concept of having limits. If you know where your limit lies, you're able to take that chunk of, you know, real estate you have to work with, balance out where your courses lie, where your work lies, how much sleep and food you need to function properly, and balancing all of that has just been it's not been a constant struggle, but it's more been a rewarding venture. It's something that's always being retuned, fine-tuned, something that I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life, as many others are doing the same. And you know, you get better and better and better at making that balance something that you can work with, the more that you cognitively realize that you're playing with your balance. And that goes into the introspection aspect of looking into yourself, understanding where you are right now. If you're screaming internally all the time, then you probably should tone it down and realize that you need some more mental leeway.
And that's a really amazing attitude, and I think talking about that could help a lot of people, because in looking at all of that, you have to be in tune with yourself. But second, you have to have the mindset that you are in control, like that you are in control of your own decisions. of your own life, and that the things that you do are a result of your decisions and the work that you put in and the energy that you put in. And if something isn't working, you can change it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not saying woe is me, like the system is trying to keep me down or something like that. It's really taking ownership for everything that you have around you to shape how you spend your time and shape your life into what you want it to be.
I would say that doing things that you love definitely helps that whole situation, helps you balance these things. But I've found myself in, and you will always find yourself in situations that, you know, you might not love.
Right.
There's things that I'm
Not every day is a good one.
there's things that I'm still highly involved in that I'm not super passionate about at this very moment in time. But, you know, you have to make the choice. Is this something that you want to cut out? You do the pros and cons of that, or, you know, is this something you continue on with and make into a better situation?
Sure.
And I've picked and choose my battles when it comes to situations like that, because I see this as a lot of the time a learning experience. I think that you can become someone who loves a non-ideal situation, something that you're not passionate about. I think you could probably become passionate about. It's a lot of fidgeting with your mindset, and sometimes it doesn't work. But in certain situations, there's a lot of potential to actually grow and learn how to work into these situations. Because you'll find yourself, whether it be at a job, whether it be at some venture of your own, you know, you're going for a graduate degree, you're going for a PhD. Something that I learned, I heard about, is if you're going for a PhD, you need to be ready to convince yourself every day that this is something you still want to do.
Right.
And that's a cool concept. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying, where if you're not in an ideal situation, you can still find ways to make that ideal, more ideal, I'll say.
If you're in tune with yourself.
If you're in tune with yourself.
But also realizing that not every day is going to be a good one.
No.
Not every week. Not every 7-week WPI term or even year is going to be a good one in all aspects. It's not everything is going to be enjoyable, and even when everything is going well on a certain day, there are always frustrations.
Yeah.
But keeping that long-term vision that, you know, over the span of a year or over the span of 4 years or decades as we become older, that's
too soon.
sorry, but it's real. Like,
I know.
Keeping in mind time spans like that, if there is upward progress along those time scales, it's still a good thing. And it's hard to remember that when you're in the trenches day to day, when you have 13 things on the schedule for a single day and you're just going.
Yeah. And it's been something that I've struggled with. I still have trouble, but, you know, I put myself into situations where I'm booked from like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. straight.
Right.
You know, there's really no downtime to really even sit down to eat lunch.
Yeah.
And in days like that, you need to have something driving you. You need to have some internal aspect that you're confident in to a degree. It's a strength. It's a resilience. And there's a quote that I just thought of that I actually really like, which is, strength is not the measure of how hard you can hit, but how hard you can get hit and get back up. Something that kind of stuck with me as, you know, there's these hard days that you're going to get hit, you're going to keep getting hit, and you just got to
have that resilience.
You got to have that. There's got to be something that you're ready to endure those hits. You got to be ready, because I think a lot of people are ready for those hits and are not maybe willing to put themselves in those situations where they can get hit.
Right. To practice what that feels like.
Yeah.
Because you feel it and it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And if you're not used to it, then you're not ready when something larger comes. But keeping in mind what it takes to go after what you're trying to go after. Yeah. I mean, we're sitting here. It's 9 o'clock on a Friday night, and we're sitting here. Yeah. We're in this.
Here we are.
This is real.
You enjoy talking about this. I enjoy talking about this.
I love this. Like, this is so good. But this is what it takes to keep up the energy. To meet with the people that help you become better and make you feel good about everything that you're doing and help you realize that, you know, you might have just come from an event or meeting that didn't go well, or an experience that you didn't enjoy, or a test result that you didn't
win
like.
the brawl tournament.
I didn't win the brawl tournament, but you know, you go do something else and recalibrate and realize, wait a minute, I actually am on the right track.
Yeah.
I actually am moving. I'm actually getting to a place that I like.
Yeah.
But again, that takes the self-reflection.
Yeah.
And one thing that I've really taken to heart from a lot of our interactions is that we'll see each other because we're both in the Glee Club and festival, and we see each other on campus quite frequently. After we have a conversation and we're ready to part ways, we'll usually talk to each other about what we're about to go do. Mention, oh, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And I'll say, oh, Alex, good luck. Because it's a common, it's like a trained response, like a trained answer.
Yeah.
It's something that a lot of people say, and I say too, to make conversation, to wish a person well.
Yeah.
And in every single one of those moments, you have corrected me on that, and I love it.
Yeah.
And in all those moments, you said, James, it's not about luck. And it'd be great if you could talk about that a little bit.
No, it's I'll also preface this by saying I only say this to people that I know pretty well, because otherwise it kind of comes off as like this arrogant, pompous kind of thing where you're like, I don't need your luck at all.
But I understand.
Yeah,
I understand what it means.
I know you understand. That's why I say it is. I really try hard. I really work hard,
Right.
and I feel that everything that I've been working through and everything that I'm in right now has been a product of my own controlled process.
Yeah.
Maybe not every single thing, but it's had a lot to do with my own controlled process.
Like the majority.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't see it as luck. I see it as controllable factors that I've used to reach the point I'm at right now. And saying that like amps me up, honestly.
Yeah.
You know, because it makes me realize that you are in control of these X amount of factors, and you've been taking advantage of that and really pushing them to the limits such that it's advanced you. And, you know, it's a weird moment of reflection in the sense that you're like, wow, I'm really here right now and I've achieved this. But at the same time, it propels you forward.
Yeah.
And I use that for me personally, and I don't mean it in any derogatory means at all, but as I said, it's just something that reminds me to, you know, keep pushing on into that great unknown that I love to venture in.
And the idea that you're doing what you're doing where you are as a result of your own decisions is incredibly empowering. It speaks a lot to the fact that every single problem has a solution, even if something seems unsolvable, or something seems unachievable, or something seems inaccessible.
Yeah.
There's always a way.
There it
And
is.
thinking that isn't true holds a lot of people back, I think. And we're not just talking about like high level dreams.
Yeah.
It's the day-to-day stuff, like being accountable for what happens to you.
Yeah, and I know we're not making this. It shouldn't be black and white thing.
Right.
Like there's no right or wrong in that situation, but there's this gray that you can progress through, and that gray basically states that there's a solution in there somewhere.
Yeah.
There's something that you can do in a majority of the situations. But what I'll say off of that, just to make things clear, is you should be aware of what you can control. You most likely can control a lot more than you think. Everything from basic interactions. What I'm doing right now, the fact that you're recording this, means that if anyone looks at this, they now have a perception of me in a sense. Right. And that subtle, minor detail of being able to control perception is something that I find extremely fascinating, but it's an example of something that you can control, but most people don't cognitively do it.
Right.
You know? But there's a lot of factors that you also have to take into consideration that you can't control. There's things that you can't control, but being aware of both of those makes it a lot easier to plan things.
Yeah.
It makes it a lot easier to control internally what you're thinking, how you can progress, where those limits are at, and just having that. Maybe it would help to sit down and actually write them out for some people. Me, I've just kind of picked them up on in the line of fire.
Sure. Which is honestly one of the greatest ways to learn.
Yeah, you gotta sometimes put yourself out there and put yourself in not literal harm's way, hopefully, but like figuratively in harm's way in terms of just throwing yourself into.
But in situations where you know that you're gonna feel that punch.
Yeah.
That you're gonna be that you're training yourself.
There's
things like that for those setbacks, for those
Yeah.
pitfalls.
Yeah.
Right.
I personally, I'm trying to train myself to be ready for whatever the world has to throw at me eventually, and there's going to be things that there's no amount of training that will ever prepare me for it,
But with a recording like this, like explaining this mindset in a way that is recorded, that is logged, that can be reviewed later, like 10 years from now, 50 years from now,
it's going to be really weird to look back that far.
It is, but for whatever you do, whatever I do, we can say, okay, here is Alex now as a middle-aged person, and here's what he has achieved, and it's because he has developed this mindset, and here is evidence of that at half his current age. And I think being able to go back to something like that later is incredibly special, because it makes tangible what it takes to achieve what a person wants to achieve. Yeah. Like it's not only the work and the energy, but it's how a person perceives the world and how a person navigates the world, how they interact with all of this and what they're doing to grow and become better and help the people around them too. Yeah, that's one of the, if you want to look down at my foundation, that's one of the main foundational points is effectively I want to help people. That's the basic form, whether it's just like giving someone a high five during the day or actually setting up an event that's beneficial to the community. At the end of the day, if I was able to make one person happy at the end of the day, it's worth living for me. And this is one of my, kind of also personal mantras is you can get anything from everything. I really, this conversation, I'm not going to walk out of here and go, this is just me talking about stuff that I already knew. Like right. I'm not getting, no. I feel like I can sit after this and go, wow, I learned X, and X. I got this. Even at the basic form, I know more about you. Yeah. I know you're doing this kind of thing, and that is information. Because it all ties together.
Yeah, you can get anything from everything if you really want to.
That's incredibly important for maintaining optimism. Because if somebody goes throughout the day and they're frustrated with something and they don't see the silver lining, the benefit from it, the ways it can tie into everything else that they're doing, that must be incredibly debilitating. I mean, that might be a big reason why a lot of people can't add more or do all the things that they want to do, because they find so many things to be frustrating, like so much pushback as they're trying to navigate their way through the day. Yeah. Where if you do look for those small bits of joy or those small bits of information where actually, yes, this does help me in a way that I didn't expect. It makes everything flow a lot more easily. Yeah. And I do want to touch on music here. Sure. Because I was actually going to go to a point about music off of this, because it's such a big part of your life. Yeah. And kind of going off of what I just stated, that ideology, in the sense being able to get anything from everything, I also tie that to being able to really take in a moment. So the fact that we're here, late at night talking about these things, I think this is pretty cool, and I'm trying to absorb it. Right. And I've learned that from being a musician, actually. I've been very fortunate, and I've been in quite a few successful bands. I've been able to open for some pretty impressive acts, and I've played over 400 some odd shows now. Yeah, I was gonna ask for a recent tally. Yep, it's somewhere around there. I don't actively try to think about it, but But the
last
fact
time I
that you've
checked.
been on stage over 400 times
Yeah.
is amazing.
Well, at some point, I think during high school, I realized that my dad was remembering more of my shows than I was, and I was like, I'm the one on stage.
Right.
Like, what's going on here? And it really came down to me just, it became something more automatic in a sense. Like, I knew I was on stage. I knew I was going to have fun. I knew it was going to happen. There was a cool venue, cool other bands. And then you move on, you make some connections, and then on to the next one. And I was gigging quite frequently and quite actively during my high school years, and I would say probably close to my freshman year of college as well. Gig after gig. I was in three different bands at one point in time, doing all separate gigs, doing all different kinds of music.
Right.
And I got to the point where I was like, I need to enjoy this. Like, this is not something that happens every day. This might not continue in the same manner. So I really should just try to absorb it. And one of the more memorable times is I was playing Songus Arena with one of my groups in front of 6,000 some odd individuals, all in this arena for an anti-bullying cause. And I was tasked with having this speech. And I remember walking on stage, and I took in that moment. I literally walked up to the mic and just looked out for a couple seconds. And I was just like, wow, this is really happening. Here I am. And from that's just one of the examples, and it's one of my favorite because I still can't believe anything like that ever happened in my life. I'm very lucky to have had that, but it's taught me to really just soak it in. I'm only here for 4 years right now. Maybe it's 5. You want to work so hard and advance your education, advance your experience, and push those limits, but you also want to have those just college moments.
Yeah.
Having people understand what you're going for, and having people that are also passionate about the adventures that you're pursuing, and helping them understand and develop in those passions. That's where kind of the lasting impact, I think, lies, is where you've helped X amount of individuals, not only as a personal individuals, but given them the resources and understanding to help others in the future.
We've unpacked a lot tonight.
Yeah.
Not everything is for everyone, but if one thing can help a single individual, then it's worth it.
I really don't want it to come across like I'm conveying a certain way
Yeah.
that things should be done, and I'm conveying a way that is going to produce something like what I've done, where I'm at. Like, you can't follow this formula and get to where I'm at, because there's really no formula.
Because there is no formula.
And it's just something that you got to figure these things out, but having more resources and concepts to pull from will help you figure things out, I think. So
That's why somebody has to go and meet people,
Yep.
talk to people, hear new ideas, see new things.
Yeah.
That's why. Thank you.
thank you for finally setting this up. So
Absolutely. Thanks for being on the show.
anytime.
Good.
Yes.
We did it.
We done good.
We did the interview.
We did the interview. Holy crap.
That was a long interview.
That was a long interview. Is it one of the longest you've had?
That was